I Evolve Global presents Mindful Conversations, Stressful Living. Let's break it down. A webinar on stress featuring experts Mr. Conrad Atkinson, Ms. Renee Mayer, Dr. Camelia Bryan, and Mrs. Marlene Brooks Sinclair. Join our host Sharika Anderson and co-host Juanita Gordon-Hunter as they lead the talk about stress. Welcome to Mindful Conversations. Let's talk.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever in the world you are. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm Sharika Anderson, the CEO of I Evolve Global. Thank you so much for taking the time out to join us in this, our second webinar, Mindful Conversations, Stressful Living. Let's break it down. So tonight, we're here to commemorate Stress Awareness Day. Yes, today is considered Stress Awareness Day, and we will be discussing stress. I have the honor tonight of being my co-host, Mrs. Juanita Hunter. Hi, Juanita. Welcome. You're muted.
Hi, Sharika. No, I'm not muted. I'm just saving my voice for this great moment.
Oh, forgive me.
Joining you.
Forgive me.
Joining you. Yes, yes. It's a pleasure to really join you on this mindful conversation. And I just want to greet everybody everywhere in the world. Good morning, good night, good evening, wherever you are. It's just fabulous to be here. Thanks for having me.
I agree with you. And Juanita, I can tell you that tonight we have a wonderful lineup. We'll be talking about stress, everything about stress. We'll be getting the psychological perspective and we'll be getting the medical perspective from a
Mhm.
medical doctor. So listen, tonight it's about to go down.
Yeah, girl. Talk up the things, them. Mhm.
Right. So, everybody that's already online, welcome again. Just go ahead and invite your friends because, Juanita, you know what I read? I read that the only person without stress is the person that is already transitioned, the person that
Mhm.
is dead. And so tonight's conversation is needed by everybody because guess what? We're either presently stressed, we
Yep.
were just stressed, and we will be stressed at some point. So
Yes.
we all
Yes.
need to be a part of this conversation. All right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Definitely.
Absolutely. So, of course, because we know stress is a part of life, and in a Jamaica, everybody says, "I'm stress out," all of
Mm-hmm.
those things, we definitely want to get into that discussion. So, without any further delay, let us meet the experts that will be guiding us and sharing with us this evening in our conversation.
All right.
Dr. Camelia Bryan completed her medical training at the University of the West Indies, Mona campus, Jamaica, and is a physician who is enthusiastic and passionate about providing optimal patient care services to her clients. She is particularly passionate about public health issues, which drove her passion to pursue, and is now a recipient of a Master of Public Health degree from the University of the West Indies, Mona campus, Jamaica. Camelia has a great interest in HIV management and has been actively involved in the response since 2017 and is certified in the clinical management of HIV through the University of Washington. Camelia, over the years, has been a facilitator and mentor to both students and staff. She is actively involved in quality improvement training, where she takes a focused interest in identifying strategies for improving processes. She currently holds the position of Program Development Officer HIV in the HIV, STI, TB unit of the Ministry of Health and Wellness. She enjoys reading and spending quiet time with her family and loved ones in her spare time.
Hi everyone, good night.
Welcome, Dr. Brian. We're happy to have you.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure to be here.
Sure.
Lovely, lovely. Good to have you.
Mrs. Marlene Brooks Sinclair hails from the beautiful parish of Clarendon. She has a passion for counseling on all levels, which fueled the pursuit of her first degree in guidance and counseling and her Master of Arts degree in counseling psychology.
in addition to currently pursuing certification in secondary education at the Vocational Training and Development Institute, VTDI. Marlene currently works at the VAS Preparatory School as a guidance counselor and health and family life education teacher, in addition to working as an associate counseling psychologist. As a minister of the gospel in the Church of God of Prophecy, Jamaica, she wears many hats, one of which is using her giftedness to impact the body through counseling, specifically at the church's National Youth Camp. Marlene's mantra is, "If you can use anything, Lord, you can use me."
Hi, Marlene. I'm not sure if you're saving your voice too, like Juanita was, but we are not hearing you.
Oh, pleasant night, everyone. How are you?
Good night. We are so happy that you are with us. How are you?
It's a, I am fine. It's a pleasure being here.
Yes, looking
Awesome.
lovely in your blue.
Thank
Yes,
you. Yeah,
definitely.
thank you.
Conrad Atkinson, a servant of God, pastor, and bishop, hailing from the parish of Kingston, was born with many hats. One of which is having a deep-rooted passion for people and seeing them thrive to be their best selves. This passion propelled him to pursue several certifications in the field of counseling, which includes a first degree in guidance and counseling from the Micah University College, a certificate in counseling from the United Theological College of the West Indies, a Master of Arts in Religion from the Gordon Conwell Theological Seminary, among other qualifications from varying institutions. He currently works as a guidance counselor at the Renwick Lodge All-Age School and currently serves his community as a Justice of the Peace commissioned in 2016. He is a gifted speaker, an exceptional motivator, and a veteran educator. He believes in taking on the task in life now while you can. Mr. Atkinson coins it like this in his own words: "You don't have to be the best, but always do your best. Be most consistent and it will bring you success. Christ alone truly satisfies."
Hi,
Wow.
hi, hi, hi,
Welcome,
hi.
Sir Atkinson.
Hi.
Welcome.
Hello, hi.
What was that, Juanita? You don't have to you don't
Thank
have
you
to
very much.
be your best, just do your best.
I think he said something like that. I was trying to make a mental note of it. It sounds like a nugget of wisdom that I need to keep.
Yes, not true. I was
Oh,
trying to remember it too, but I'm not sure. I think I
It
got
went
it
out so
mixed
quickly.
up. Yeah, I got it mixed up, but we'll get it back after.
Indeed.
All
Indeed.
right.
Renee Mayer is a past student of the Clan Carthy Primary and Portsmouth Primary School, St. Hugh's High School, and Micah University College. She completed her master's degree in counseling psychology at the Caribbean Graduate School of Theology in July 2016. She is an excellent mentor, educator, motivational speaker, writer, and facilitator of learning, a counselor who empathizes, shows positive regard, and helps without being judgmental. Ms. Mayer is an extraordinary teacher, guidance counselor, and has been teaching for over 2 decades. She has taught at every level from toddlers to adults. Now she currently teaches and practices guidance and counseling at Bridgeport High School. She has a passion for children and young people and has been working with them for the past 20 years. She is free, single, disengaged, and content. She tries her best to have a positive impact on everyone she comes in contact with. She is anointed by God to carry out her purpose and to fulfill her call, which is to touch hearts and change lives.
Hi. Hello.
You hear Renee before you see her. Renee.
Right, that's the trend. That's the trend. Welcome, Renee. I think
It's
we are
nice
all
being here.
here.
Thanks for the warm welcome.
Yes, we're so happy that you are with us. All right, without further delay, we're going to start. But just before we do that, I just want to remind persons to just go ahead and share the link. Go ahead and invite persons to join us, because if there's ever a time we need to talk about stress, it's now. I mean,
Absolutely.
many of us are still
it's
trying to recover.
no.
We're, we're still trying to recover from the earthquake,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So if there's ever a time we
Yes.
need some tips and some tricks and some things to do, it is now.
Absolutely, my dear. I'm telling you, it was such a stressful event. Yes. And so we are in the right place at the right time to just jump into this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So let us get a little understanding, clarifying for our viewers what exactly is stress. And I'm going to ask Mr. Conrad Atkinson and Miss Renee Mir to take the first one. What exactly is stress? When people say, I'm stress out. Yeah, what is that? Clarify for our viewers. Yes, you can go ahead, Mr. Atkinson. Since
So,
you were at
good
open
evening,
your mic, right?
everyone, and evening to our host. And no, so listen now, so stress, yes, so stress is any situation, any pressure that puts, tension on the mental, the emotional, the physical. I tell you, the earthquake, as you mentioned last Wednesday, not see it. I'm calling that
Monday,
Wednesday morning. Last
Monday, my
Monday
brother,
Monday,
Monday.
is
Monday,
a key
10:57.
sign. Last Monday. I look here. I am still in it. I am still trying to manage to cope to recover from it. So simply put, stress it basically is a state of worry, mental tension and pressure that comes to one emotionally, especially
Okay,
sustained.
Mhm.
So
a
simply
state
put,
of work. Okay,
Um,
thank you. Thank you for that. Renee, you want to jump in and
Thank you, Mr. Atkinson. Well, stress can be defined as any type of change that causes emotional, physical, psychological strain. Well,
Mhm,
stress is actually the way how our bodies respond to anything that causes us to get our
mhm,
attention and needing our action. Well, as we all know, everyone is actually faced with stress at some point in their lives. So it's
mhm.
really an emotional response or response to the strain and pressures that we have around us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And as both of you shared, this
yes,
thought came to mind, pressure bust pipe. So
Yes.
stress, bringing that strain, it really can affect
yes,
us. Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for that. Throwing over to my host.
Wow, pressure bust pipe. Fresh.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, we're dropping nuggets tonight,
mhm,
from
yes,
Pastor Conrad profile and everybody else profile, and now we're hearing that pressure bust pipe, and that's what we're trying to prevent tonight, while we're having this kind of
mhm,
conversation, right? So, as we have now been exposed to what stress is, what I want to know is there any such thing as good stress? I know many of us we don't like to hear about stress at all because it's just negative. But is there anything as good stress, or can you tell us the difference and give us some example? I'm going to go with Mrs. Marlene Brooks Sinclair and also the gentleman among us.
Okay, so yes, there is good stress. And I believe that I have witnessed the good stress on Monday because when I felt the earthquake, I jumped over a box. I think I can do high jump and long jump.
Whoa.
So yes, to get to a door post. So that was a good stress because the response caused me to move and was safe. So yes, we have good stress. Um, People getting married. First you feel that reaction, that stressful reaction, but it's for good because you're going to get married and have children. So it's a good stress. Also, like you're doing your examination, you feel that stress, but it's not for a long term. You feel that stress, but you know that you're gonna do your exam because you want to go to high school or you want to go to university. So that stress that comes upon you, it's not just a stress as a bad stress, but it's a good stress. So yes, we call it stress. EU, stress, right? So um a roller coaster. You ever been into a roller coaster and shouting out, "Why? Oh, yes!" But you enjoy the ride, so that's a good stress. So those are some of the things that we want to have. We can't do without those stress. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing
Indeed,
that.
indeed.
Wow.
Yes, indeed, Madam Sinclair. There is such a thing that is called good stress. And even the stress that we consider to be bad stress can be, in its sense, work out to be good stress, and a little later on we'll look into that. And so that kind of a stress that we call good stress is anything that, yes, it puts some mental pressure on, some tension on, but at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, the result from it, what it causes us to do, it actually causes us to excel well. And some of the stress you mentioned about persons getting married, but like for children, I mean, once they learn that they're going to be treated or something exciting is coming up for them
Mm-hmm.
after every exam, trust me, they are going to look
Want
forward to that.
motivate
I
them.
remember some years ago, a father had this deal with his son. The son wasn't doing so well at all. He was failing most of his class tests, end of year exam, end of term, you name it. He wasn't doing well. And the father said, all right, here is the offer. I am going to give you $500 for every test that you pass, $1,000 if you run it up to within the 90s and hundreds. And that was many years ago. So $500 back then and the $1,000. You see, after that deal, trust me, that boy started to hit
Yes,
some.
man.
He didn't feel anything else. The father had to go back to him and say, "Look here, all right, let's how much I owe you,"
Yes.
because he was doing so. While it was stressful for him feeling, but
Yes.
having the deal with his daddy to say, "Here, what? Everything you pass, you're gonna get some money." So that in itself, an example of good stress for children and youngsters.
Yes.
So
Yes, man.
yes,
So
indeed,
good,
we have
good,
good
good.
stress.
Yes, man. And good stress, good. You can imagine the world without good stress. Yeah, man. So able to perform your daily activities. You know that you have a deadline. So without the deadline, you're not going to be paid or you're not going to get the promotion. So that stress, that good stress, helps you to perform daily activities, man, your daily function. Yes.
Yes, and that's how some persons function. I remember years ago I worked with a company, and they had every now and then deadline to meet, deadline to meet, and the boss came to me with a high pressure rush, and I said to him, my response was to him, bring it on. Rush makes my blood boil, and literally so. I live for those kind of moments to meet a deadline, um, sometimes close. I remember some years ago having to do something for RGRs. Back then they used to have this award show, and they were, I mean, in need of getting the job done within a certain time. They had only a week, and looking at it, it's a job that would take more than a week to get done. And a friend of mine, co-worker of mine, when we took on the job, we completed the job with 2 days to spare to the award show. I mean, for us, that bring it on excitement. It caused our blood to boil. And so
Yes.
for a lot of persons, without even knowing it, the good stress cause our blood to boil. Why do you think sometimes some person have some assignment due, um 2 weeks ago, the time was short, 1 week is left, and you get it done and submit it before the time is expired, because of the good stress, what good stress does to us. So stress in itself, not altogether bad. So tonight we'll explore
Mm-mm.
all the
Oh
elements of
well.
stress.
Oh well. Juanita, that's
Tell me,
good.
tell me,
Thank you for clarifying that. That good
yeah,
stress is good.
Yes.
I was
Good
actually,
stress is good.
yes, I was actually saying to myself, without good stress, we wouldn't accomplish a lot of things because this is a stress that we undergo when we have to
That's
achieve
right.
something, when we have to get something completed. So it pushes us, right? So good stress
Yes.
is good.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we can appreciate that. But in the midst of all of that, many people are still unaware of some of the things that really cause them stress. Sometimes you'll hear people saying, I'm stressed out, or I feel so stressed, and they may not be aware exactly of what exactly it is that causes them stress. And these things that cause stress, we call them stressors, and there are
Yes.
many causes of stress. So we need
Mhm.
to really have a discussion then about what are some of these common stressors that people that is out there in the atmosphere, and how do people respond to some of these.
Yes.
Yes.
Who who that goes to?
Well,
Anyone can
yes,
anyone can answer.
I was just thinking, yes, anyone can take that one.
Okay, so some of the stressors that people are facing, especially now, work,
Mm-hmm.
job situation,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
and even persons who are working, like some teachers, and many of our teachers are gone abroad because of you know what we're talking, the pay, the
Oh my.
pay. Yes. So those are some of this. That is one of the stressor, job related situation. Um, persons leaving school, leaving high school, leaving college, not high school, college, and cannot find a job. Sometimes they are good at what they are looking for, but maybe they are not good at an interview. That is a stressor. Can't do a good interview. So even though they have the qualification, they can't do a good interview. Also another stressor. Maybe you can't write a good um a good
Resume.
cover letter. You
Oh.
a resume. You cannot write a good resume,
Definitely.
right? So that's one of the another stressor. Also, bills to pay.
Oh
It
yes.
look like it's every 2 weeks now we get bill. We used to get bill like every month end, but now it's like every 2 weeks we are getting bills. So that's another stress.
Fortnightly.
Mhm.
Um, so financial problem. Um, and there's so much separation, divorce. Children, our teenagers are giving a heck amount of problem, stress. So these are some of the stressors. Somebody says stressing on my left breast.
I don't want no stressing by left breast, but the stressors are many, and you have given us a lot. But anybody else could share some other stressors that children face, adolescents, adults, anybody.
and
Any
even
of
and
us.
As,
even our men,
as
Juanita, even
Yes,
our
yes,
men.
yes,
I was
yes.
just about to say, I
Our
was just
men.
about to say, I hear Madam Brooke Sinclair mentioned stress in the left breast, while the men are male would say, boy, stress in the left chest. So, uh, for let me just touch for children. Now, children, trust me, they undergo a great deal of stress. Now, having
Mm-hmm.
to deal with them every day, sometimes what adults may consider to be nothing to the child or children, it's a great deal to them. And so they
Yes.
are worried about their parents, they are worried about their pets, they are worried that they don't understand the class work, they are worried that they are not the favorite, no one is playing with me. They are worried that they don't have the kind of things that the other friends have, and the list goes on. They are worried that, guess what? I am not seeing my mother and my father around. In fact, I mean, it
Mm-hmm.
pushes children sometimes this great level of stress that they sometimes want to do. I mean, some dangerous things, even to the point of wanting to take their own life.
Mm-hmm.
Just imagine a child, okay, mommy dies. Then 2 years after, daddy die also. For some of them, they are so stressed that they say, look here, I want to die too. And you hear them having certain, I mean, utterances, expression, and even attempt to take their own lives. So that for children, high stressor. The
Yes.
homework, not to mention sometimes coming up to the whole pep.
Oh Jesus.
Parents put pressure
Mm-hmm.
on children which high school
Mm-hmm.
them
Yeah.
never pass
C
for
and
it, you
all
know.
them something.
Them never pass for they had even problem getting into back then the technical school. But all of a sudden they want the child or children to pass for traditional. And sometimes the children know that look here, my 60s and 70s when we getting in the exam, not going to cut it for the immaculate and the champion. But yet, the parents, you know, and make it worse sometimes they're going around telling, other people in the community. So that, I mean, when it comes down to pep, children, oh my gosh, they're under pressure. A part of the pressure and stress that they face to sometimes is when the result now supposed to come out and you hear so,
Mm-hmm.
oh my gosh, sometimes they can't sleep, the panic attack, the heavy tension, the headache, the
Absolutely.
sweating, the not
Absolutely.
wanting to eat. Oh my gosh, sometimes not want to go to school, not even to take a shower. Why? Because they are worried. Parents sometimes
Wow.
put them under that kind of a pressure, under
Can I
stress.
add
Stress.
quickly? Males and children, they have unrealistic expectation, as I saw in the chat just now, Andre
Absolutely. Yes.
between,
I
Mm-hmm.
and
agree.
peer pressure
Mhm.
because of the expectation of their peers to fit in. They develop low self-esteem, and the stress that many of us are talking about, it will be complicated because of the unrealistic expectations and because of the peer pressure, especially in our schools today, among our children, teenagers, for them to want to fit in. And the failure of, because they don't want to fail, they the stress come down upon them because of the need to perform, especially our men. If they are underperforming, sometimes they can't bounce back. So yes, unrealistic expectation.
So,
I totally agree with that.
Madam Renee, what you're talking about when you say underperforming?
Well, since
Madam
I'm not
Renee,
married, I can't be talking about
I hear you mention
that
about
kind of. But I
men
know
under
even the
stress.
married, if persons who are married, if they are not able to perform, God damn them suffer. It's a rest my case.
Praise God, Sister Renee. Oh
I
my
The
think
Lord.
rest of the case. All right.
She rests her case.
So,
But
so
as you
look
were as
here.
you were all sharing. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, sir. Okay. All
Yes, you
right.
were
I was
saying.
saying as you were all sharing and talking about common stressors, I just recall my son who is in grade 11, and let me tell you something. Children are stressed for real. They are stressed for real, and those in our education system, they feel it a lot. And
Hmm.
sometimes when they have to do all these SBAs and all the projects and the presentations, I remember one day I saw him and he just looked so despondent, and I said, how you I said, like I said to him, you stressed out? Yeah, mom, stressed out. Can't bother it all of them. It's me here. And I was like, all right, you know what? You deserve a break. Take a break. And sometimes you just leave them. So there are so many things. I saw Dr. Brand laughing like she's testifying that yes, school is hard. Jamaican school hard. With life, it's loaded with a lot of stressors, way more than what we would have
Hmm.
even hinted at here tonight. I mean, just getting up every day and taking the bus is a stressor because you have to wait forever to get a bus. When you're going there, you're so uncomfortable. So different things really affect persons.
and
So,
then
yes.
and then lady
Hmm.
Juanita, driving is a stressor.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh my God. Driving is a stressor. So if you have to take the bus, you're stressed. But then if you
Oh,
have to
yes.
drive, you're also
Oh, yes.
stressed. It's like
Yes.
they're just stressors
Yes.
all around. Not to mention our environment. I think you
Yes,
alluded to
indeed.
it. You're trying to sleep peacefully. You're hearing the loud music. Or
Mm-hmm.
somebody down the road fighting. Or you're hearing gunshot. Listen, there's so many things happening.
Holy.
Yes.
But it would be interesting to hear from Dr.
Yes.
Brand, though, to follow up
Yes.
on what Renee said. What were her exact word? If man can't perform, dog
God
nab them
damn
supper.
them
So,
supper.
Dr. Brian. Based on your practice, is that something you see where men come in being stressed because of failure to perform adequately? Let me put it like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, good night again, everyone. So, I mean, you guys have been mentioning it that stress can affect
Talk the
different
things, Doc.
aspects of body in terms of whether it may be your physical or in terms of your behavior. And in the physical, there's a whole heap of things that stress, in terms of physical symptoms that you can experience with stress.
Mhm.
The headache, the anxiety, the lack of appetite because you're just so stressed out you don't want to eat. The memory problems, you're not remembering things because you're so stressed. Your heart racing, you're feeling like you're having anxiety attacks. And also what you alluded to earlier on, which was the underperforming, may also be a challenge because the stress, or the added pressure of what is going on. And then what that does is that the brain plays an important role in that process and in terms of getting what you would call, in terms of a meal, to have the direction for them to be able to perform adequately. And if someone is stressed, that can interfere with the process that they would need for them to have that direction where they may fulfill their job adequately. As you all have been seeing, as we here said, not me and myself, as some persons would say if they're not performing.
Hold on then.
Brain
Hold
has
on.
a lot to do with it. And when you're stressed, it affects some of our important hormones and it can just throw them out of whack, which is why, they say that constant stress can do a lot of harm if
Damage.
you're chronically stressed over long periods.
Wait, the doc just said a lot of things, but I want to clarify. Juanita, you
Mhm.
can help me. You're paying attention.
Yes.
So it sounds like Doc is saying that underperformance can both cause stress and it can
Mhm.
also be an
We
impact of stress.
Upset.
Yes.
Absolutely. You're
Okay,
so
so it
correct.
works both ways.
Both ways.
Oh, okay, we
Both
get it
ways.
now. We get it. We
Yes,
get it.
man. When the men have too many things on their brain and their mind, especially when they're thinking about the financial worries and the worries at work and so on, sometimes that will affect their ability to stand up like a man. Yes, and that causes much stress, ain't
Mrs.
it?
Hunter, you're married.
Praise Jesus. Yes, 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 I am.
That don't sound like textbook.
No, it's not textbook, but it is a fact though. What Doc said about stress affecting our bodies. Colleagues, I was saying colleagues and everybody on the platform, listen, when there's toxic stress inside of us, it pours out on your organs inside your body. That's why we get high blood pressure and all of these things and so on. And that is why I want to jump into this question. And anybody on the panel can take this. Stress affects us differently. And I think we were talking about some of that a little bit. It affects us differently. What are some of the effects of stress in our body? I think Doc started to mention something like headaches and heart palpitation and so on. But is there any other effects that, I said high blood pressure because that stress hormone being consistently regulated, being produced in the body, it stores it, the cortisol, it stores sodium, it increases the pressure in your head, in your body. So I know high blood pressure is one of the stress things, the symptoms of stress. But anybody else can comment and say how differently does stress affect us?
Well, so for physical stress, so we are looking at like infection, and I know the doctor is here, so but I have some information here. We have like disease, infection, um, sleep deprivation, lack of balance of diet, lack of oxygen. Those are some of the physical stress that we have. Brain damage. Stress can damage our brain because as we talk about the high blood pressure can cause our that inside here, what you call it? Our pressure. Pressure bus pop. Our blood pressure up here. Yes. And some of the
Pressure bus
psychological
like.
stress now, we can have frustration, boredom, conflict. That's it. And when they talk about psychological now, we're talking about up here the mental status.
Yeah. Affects us
So we
differently.
have, so you have internal anxieties because
Mm-hmm.
it's now when you have long stress, depends on the stress, how long it is, ongoing stress. Then you are looking to have anxiety and
Mm-hmm.
the cousin depression. Because you know that anxiety and depression, they are two first cousins, right?
Yeah.
So you have the external pressure, you have self-generated pressure, fear of circumstances. So you become fearful. These are some of the psychological um,
Aspects to how
issues
stress affects
that
us
yes, or that
differently.
affect our mental, because
I mean,
stress, it affects our body and it affects mental, your body and your mind, body and mind.
So
All
so
right.
so stress impacts all of us, yes?
yes.
Mentally,
Yes.
physically, emotionally, and all the alleys that you can think of.
All spiritually.
Yes, yes, yes. So I don't know that we have covered, but I don't know if there's anything else anyone would want to add to that. Anything that just jumped out at you and you want to say.
Well,
Uh,
we have
So,
different signs and symptoms to look for when we are referring to stress. As was said, we have the physical signs, we have the behavioral signs, we have the emotional signs, we have the cognitive signs. As counselors, as a psychologist, we can't read the minds of persons, so we look at their behavior. So that is how we are able to tell when someone is under, a stressful situation. So we have the physical, as was said, headaches, muscle tension, the hypertension, and the list goes on and on. We have the behavioral. When we see somebody having insomnia, can't sleep. When you see somebody being fatigued, when you see somebody always tired, everybody, when you ask them how people feeling, them say, I'm tired.
Mm-hmm.
That is also one of the behavioral signs. Some people, they bite their nails. So we have many, many symptoms and signs that we can look for to know when someone is stressed. And as was said earlier, we have the emotional, the psychological, the
Mm-hmm.
depression, the anxiety, being angry, hostile,
Yeah.
fearful. Just Monday, we realized how important our mental health is because of what took place because of the earthquake. Look what happened at the hospitals. We never saw a
Absolutely.
person going because of physical, being hurt. What they went for, the mental persons had panic attack, and we see that that is very important. And then we have the cognitive. Some persons they can't concentrate when they are under stress. Some persons they have memory fog. They can't even remember what they want to say. And if I'm saying this because I have experienced it too. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
persons forget some of the simplest things that they need to know. And poor judgment when you're driving and you hear about accidents. When you check it out, I rest my case.
and
Absolutely. I mean, I
if I
totally
may add before you we move on back to
yes.
you, Hunter, is that all of these things that we have talked about in terms of all the signs, whether physical or emotional or behavioral, it all plays back to the hormones that are released when we're stressed from the brain. And
Mm-hmm.
the different hormones, we have the adrenaline, which will put us in the fight or flight mode. I'm sure everybody was in the fight versus the flight mode, either to run or, what to do, they were packing. And, we also, and that is what can cause our heart rate to go up, our heart to pump blood to our body, to put us in a position where we know can now better act accordingly based on the situation that we are in. And then
Mm-hmm.
we also have the long term, we also have cortisol, which is also what is released. And we know that cortisol can have a lot of different effects, where we know that prolonged stress with long term exposure of cortisol, it can put persons at risk for diabetes. We mentioned about the wounds and the poor wound
Mm-hmm.
healing because of all that high level of cortisol. Um, There's also the we mentioned with the low sex drive and the risk for heart attacks. But this all has to do with the hormones, that all of this is then tied back to of what is released when we are under stress, whether it's acute stress or it may be chronic or long-term stress.
Hmm. Absolutely. Thank you so
Um,
much for that. Yes.
I just want to say one thing that I noticed happening now. It has to do with our caregivers who have like their mothers, grandparents who are experiencing this disease that we call dementia. So while the our elders and I'm happy that our doctor is here can real because dementia doesn't mean that it's every old people, but general old people over the age 65 start to experience dementia. And dementia is one of the things that they can't remember things, memory loss, and sometimes hallucination, delusion, and all of that comes with it. But the caregiver, the person that is there with them, they are experiencing um um severe stress, severe stress. And because one of the things, they cannot leave them, you cannot leave them, you cannot have your life again. It's like your life put on a hold. So I know that many elders, most times they have experienced dementia. That's where part of your brain is damaged. And even though I empathize with our elders, but I really empathize with our caregivers that has to they have to, actually pay that amount of attention. I wish that if Doc could say something on that, but it's very stressful. I have been into that situation. Thank God I did it with grace and went through it. But I know that it's a very stressful situation that many people might not have now. But as Minister Sharika said, that you might don't have the stress now, or I've never experienced, but it's coming. And so we want to be educated about that and aware, have that awareness that when that time comes, how you deal with that stressful situation, where to go, or what to do. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. I'm throwing over to Sharika.
Um, Doc, you wanted to come in here?
Yeah, so dementia, as we know, it's progressive and a persistent loss of function in terms of brain wise. So the thing is, it's not something that can say, it's long term, and how the caregivers may respond. I mean, everyone may vary, but it can be a stressful situation because, as we said, it is long term and it's progressive, so it gets worse over time. And some days it's like a ups and downs, some days maybe better than some. And then we also have to bear in fact that, these persons, as you had mentioned before, they cannot be left on their own because they may wander off or they may do things to harm themselves. I mean, there are medications that, can be used to slow the progress, but over time, they will eventually continue to progress to, a worsened stage of dementia. So, I mean, there are coping mechanisms that persons can use. Can talk to a counselor, maybe needed added family support. If it may be that probably assistance of like another like and nursing care or to assist, because it is a lot for one person to take on. And I've seen it in many different shapes and forms, where the main sole caregiver, it has impacted them to the point where it has probably driven them to the point of frustration and just giving up without the lack of family support. So it is very important for family members to rally around and, to assist as best as possible, and to even just seek counseling or expert advice in terms of how to deal with this, or if it's a case where, you may need to see a psychologist or a psychiatrist, so that, they can assess to see if you're depressed where you are and if medication needs to be provided, as long as other types of counseling to assist you through this process.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing that. And the whole aspect of sorry, the whole aspect of
Mm.
caregivers having to navigate that condition can really be stressful. So thank you so much for mentioning that. Um Before I continue, Mrs. Sinclair said something earlier about spiritual stressors. So can I ask the bishop among us, is he here to talk to us about how church can contribute to our stress level? If that's such a thing, if there's such a thing like that, you know, if church can contribute to our stress level. Oh, it seemed like he is frozen. But that
All right.
happens with
So
technology.
I'm not
Oh,
so sure
you're
if it's
here.
my system or what, but I miss a part of yeah. All right. So just repeat. I heard the part the bishop. It just sound
Right.
with this you're talking to someone and
So
they're not
Minister
hearing you,
Marlene,
and you say, "Can you hear me?" And the only part that they hear,
can you hear
yes.
me? Right. So I want you to break down for us, sir. Is another minister say it?
All right.
That church can contribute to our stress.
Yeah.
And as the Deacon Renee nodding too, and
Yeah.
Sister Juanita over there nodding too. So help us to understand how church can be a stressor and how it contribute to our stress level.
All right. So, I love how you put it. And remember earlier on when we were talking about stress and we were on the definition that we have good stress and bad stress,
Mhm.
eustress, which is good stress. So church can be a good stress. All right. So let me just lay it there that
Good
can be good stress for us. All right.
good
So
answer, Bishop. Good answer. We'll just leave
because
it
the
at
truth
that. Say
is,
no
before
more.
before I get before I get in what what I suspect that we are moving at to say church sometimes can be bad stress for a person. A lot of persons, if it wasn't for church, stress would kill them. So let me just lay that on the ground. For more reasons than one, church help them. Sometimes some persons, when they come to church, you see them sleeping and people troubling them. Some of them is de-stressing. Is the only place that they come and feel comfortable. And so by the time they come and sit, they feel so comfortable they're gone off. But going now to the part that we no doubt perhaps was pointing to, yes, indeed, church sometimes can be of great stress, and I mean other person's issues, problems, challenges can be of great stress. So someone have a death in the family. There is a illness, in a family, accident, somebody place, got burnt down, whatever it is. So, cooperatively, as a corporate group, sometimes we can be stressed or individual. Sometimes the leadership, sometimes persons in need of all kind of care. So yes, indeed, for some persons, they may see it because they want to miss X, Y, or Z at church. And so, um, you may have some persons, oh, church too long. Every time we're having this. Sometimes for some persons, they may consider church, the money aspect of it, as a stressor to them every minute. Money for this, money for that, fundraising this, fundraising that, and oh Lord, there's some persons, how they receive it, it has become a stressor to them. So, but let me remind us that church, besides having what some persons call
Good stress.
the bad stress part of it, the distress part of it, be it known that for a great deal of persons, or most, if not all of us, church is good stress.
Well said.
Minister,
Let's. You're adding to
Minister?
that, Minister Marlene. You're adding to
Yes,
what
because I
Bishop said.
don't know if my let me fix this because I don't know if my pastor maybe on it. I wasn't saying so much about church, I was in the spiritual part, the
Clarify it.
spiritual part. So
Clarify it.
it's not
Clarify it,
so much.
Minister. Clarify
So
it.
so for instance, conviction, conviction of sin. Some persons might find it stressful to give up. Some persons are in some lifestyle that um, giving over to the Lord can become stressful because they would have to let go of those. They would have to leave those. All right. So that's one of the spiritual guilt. Sometimes you're the guilt, and sometimes even in church. No, I'm going to say with church now. Sometimes you're there and you feel so guilty. Instead of leaving being healed, sometimes you feel so guilty. Depends on how they put the word, can't bring it over to you. So sometimes people might leave in feeling more guilty or guilt than to leave in feeling better. There are satanic influences too. Persons are stressed out. Sometimes they believe that, and also when I talk about satanic influences, we're talking about demons. But many times people don't have demons. Sometimes is stress. Sometimes is a situation inside of them cause them to manifest. You have people who have stress, speak in tongues and run up and down, and you think that it's demon. Well, it's not demon. It's just that they need to speak to somebody. So that's we're
Let
talking
me
about
jump
the.
in right here. Does it look like Minister Martin working to get put out of church? But let me jump in right here. You know, Sister Juanita, as the host, let me just jump in right here and save the day. But
That's why I mute my mic.
right, but those are excellent responses. I mean, Bishop gave a well balanced perspective, about church being eustress and also distress. But not only that, that the church is actually one of the things that help us to cope and to manage our stress. So I think that that was just such a beautiful answer. Bishop, you handled that one quite well. And I'm seeing in the chat, a lot of persons commenting and talking about the stressful aspect of stress. So I'm happy that Bishop Atkinson helped us to see the good stress about church. So it's not only bad, but it's also good, and it's also a mechanism for us to cope. All right. So thank you so much, thank you so much. But this is a hot topic. Like it sounds like it's a hot topic, but
Yes,
Sister Juanita.
it's a very hot topic
Seems
because
so.
I realize that some people write out that church is stressed and the S cannot finish and so on. So I am believing that the workload, because remember, life, you will not have life without stress. The moment
Right.
you have to interface with people and you have to interact and so on and plan and organize, you're going to have stress. And I see somebody commenting that when it's you alone carrying the whole of the workload.
Right.
Yes.
So
No,
people can relate, Anita. People
people
can
can
relate
relate.
to the
People can
different
relate.
to the different
But
aspect of it.
God will never stress
And
us.
we need to remember that when we are in church, we are dealing with different personalities. So
Absolutely.
some of the things that person might say, even jokingly, not meaning to hurt anyone, and then we always hear people talking about church hurt, and it is a real issue, and that is also stressful. So yes, so anywhere that we interact with persons and have to deal with persons,
That is
we
a
are
hot
going to
topic,
face
Renee. Church
stress.
hurt.
But that is for another
Another time.
time.
That is
Time.
another conversation. But
Boy,
Yes.
Tanika Thompson says anything that involves people will add stress. So
absolutely.
it's not church alone, right? It's
One
work and family and community and
Mhm.
just being alive, right? So
Ga-
thank you so
um,
much.
hold on. Gary
Yeah,
Collins says
that's
that.
true.
Gary Collins said, "What would life be like if we didn't have stress? If you are like most people in this stress-saturated society, You might answer that life without stress would be a lot simpler, but it also would be a lot duller, a lot less challenging, and maybe even a lot more shorter.
Wow. So
And what
church
we
add
find when
flavors.
persons are stressed, Minister Anderson, that's when they are drawn to church and to God. Because without the stress, some persons just they are smooth sailing and just going like that. But as soon as they can say, God is my refuge, God is my strength, and then they are driven to seek God and to meditate
Yes.
when they are faced with some stressful situation. That's why the Bible said
Absolutely.
God is our refuge and strength,
And
a very present help in stressful times. In
Time
trouble.
of trouble.
So yes,
Mhm.
the
All
amen.
stress
right.
will cause person to be drawn closer to God.
Amen
Mm-hmm.
to that.
All
Amen
right.
to that.
Listen, it seems like everybody on this platform is a minister. Dr. Brian, you too? Right? We're preaching sermons up in here, man.
Yes,
You
we
seem
should
so.
read.
We're preaching sermons. but
Lots
but
Right.
of sermons.
yes, I
Yeah.
appreciate the different
But
perspective
one
and
of the
your
good
thoughts
thing about
there.
stress, you see, whether it
Mm-hmm.
be
Is this one of the moments where we're not hearing you?
Or he's reserving
right.
his
So I was saying,
voice.
Yeah.
I am wondering, and I'm not resting my voice, not resting my voice at all. Right. So one of the good thing about stress, you see, is that after coming through the stress, you feel a sense of victorious. You feel a sense of
Triumph.
overcoming. You feel a sense of, you have done well. So it doesn't matter the high level of stress. Yes, a sense of triumph, gone through and come through G- handling stress and handling it well is very important, is key. So it's important for us to learn how to deal with the stressors.
Mhm.
I'm glad that you mentioned that, Sir
Yes.
Atkinson, because that brings us into that kind of a discussion that we want to talk about. How can we manage our stress level and tips on stress management? If our panelists could even share one tip, even one or two tips. I know Sister Marlene has a lot of information, but just one or two tips from so that we can get everybody sharing something. How can we manage manage stress? And I'm becoming the one
All
every day.
right. All right.
The one
Okay.
every day at
Let me
church.
just share one. Connect with others.
Yes,
Talk to somebody. Connect.
absolutely. Connect with others. Talk to somebody. All right, Sister Renee.
Who is it?
Who
For
is
me,
it?
I'm going to say exercise. You should exercise regularly. Make sure that you dance. Turn on some good gospel music and dance. That's one way that I use to relieve my stress. Dance in the morning, dance in the evening, dance at night. Just dance and exercise and enjoy yourself.
Wow. Look here. I wonder if you could have bust a dance right now, because it look like you love to dance. But that is just one thing you said no for dancing. Is there another one that you could share with us? You said dancing. I just remember. Oh, dancing and exercise. All right. Sir Atkinson.
All right. So dealing with stress, one is high thing that I recommend is make sure that you are well rested. Get some good rest. Rest, 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 rest. Step back and look at what the stressor is and assess it well and see there's always a way out. There's always a way to cope with whatever it is that is stressing you. If you're too tired, if you're not very well rested, then you won't be able to process, you won't be able to think well. And so, uh, part of besides the exercising, the dancing and stuff, make sure that you're well rested, eat well, and you'll be able to take on almost any stress. and deal with it well.
That, yes, I'm getting a lot, connect with people, reach out for help, exercise, dance, get rest. Me love that one there because me love rest. Me love sleep. Yeah. And for me, sleeping is therapeutic, okay? It empties me, my cells get to replenish themselves, and when I get up, I'm refreshed. So I love the part about resting. And resting is not sleeping. So don't leave this platform thinking resting is sleeping. It could be just being still, just shutting your eyes, just
Ah,
being at rest. Yes. So you don't
very good
necessarily have
point.
to
Very good
have to
point.
have to sleep. So those are some things coming in. Doc, what tips do you have for us to manage our stress?
I mean, so everybody has pretty much said them. I mean, the exercise, the dancing, the rest. But then, we also have to be cognizant and mindful of the fact that for some persons that may not work. And for some person, you know, um, it may be out of their control with all the stressors that may be happening. So you yourself also as the individual needs to know when to ask for help as well. And I mean, reaching out to a counselor, a psychologist, a psychiatrist, where they can provide you with the tools, the additional tools that you may need, along with all the other things that you guys would have said, to equip you. And whether it may be with the addition of medications, if you are to the point where you are that stressed, where you are now depressed, or you're now having anxiety attacks, so that is also something that they can put in your little tool pan, along with all the other things. And then with their guidance and the therapy, that can then help you to get to the point where you need to deal with the stress and to overcome the stress.
Absolutely. And I see someone saying, learning when to say no. That maybe can manage your stress as well. In addition to this, I mean, there's a lot of things. I was just thinking as you were talking,
Yes.
you could even come up with a de-stress jar, like you have a self-care jar. So when you're very overwhelmed, you may just go in and pick something out of that jar. Maybe it says, listen to music or exercise or get a nice slice of cheesecake. I don't know, but something to relax you, because when there's stress, you have
Hmm.
to know how to
And
manage that.
and as I'm sure if what was
Yes,
said
go ahead.
before, but time management is key in managing stress.
Absolute time management, and I think also to in managing stress, um, before you even do all of those things, you have to identify the stressor. I think it's
Right.
important for us to be cognizant of what exactly is causing, because sometimes it's
Yes.
really an action that you need to do, something you need to do, not necessarily to exercise or to dance, but just a specific thing that you need to do in order to manage whatever is causing that stress. So there are a lot of things that people can do, but one of the things, I mean, leaving this platform, don't suffer in silence, don't go through it alone. And so, what Minister Sinclair mentioned about connecting, very important.
Right.
Social support is also very important when it comes to managing stress. I can't walk this life alone. You know that song? Remember that song? That can't
Mhm.
walk this road alone. May I tell you, we need each other if we're going to manage
Total, yes.
this stress. So those are some of the tips. So Sharika, what do you think about that? You have anything to throw into that?
Listen, I have seen some comments and I've heard the feedback, and these are some brilliant ideas. What I will say, I think Miss Mayer said it earlier, for the married persons, sexual activities is also one way that you can manage your stress, right?
What?
So sexual activities
Oh,
among, right, is also one way that persons can use to manage their stress. Also, just being mindful about your thoughts, because our thoughts influences our emotions and our behaviors. So if we have negative thoughts, we're going to have negative feelings and we're going to be stressed out eventually. So we have to be intentional about managing our thought processes. Be Pay attention to what we're feeding our minds. We have to be careful that we are not dwelling on negativity, because our mind is like a field. So whatever we feeds it, that's what will grow, right? And that
Mhm.
will affect us. All right. So those are my thoughts on the matter. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure persons are saying, "Whoa, there are so many things that we can do to manage our stress." And I'm
Mhm.
hoping that even in the chat there are some great ones listed in the
Yes.
chat, and we just pay attention to them, and commit to trying them, even one per week or one per day, and be intentional about managing our stress.
Absolutely. You know, as you mentioned that your mind is a garden,
Right.
your
Yes.
thoughts, right, are the weeds. You know that quote, you can plant flowers or you can plant weeds, right? So that positive thinking really does help to manage the stress. Thank you so much for adding that.
Yes.
I
You
think
are
yes,
welcome.
it's your side
Yes.
now, your side now, Sharika.
All right. So persons have been posting their questions. So we're going to take few of the questions at this point. So panelists, get ready. So question one, and
All right.
anybody can answer. Anyone can take this one. So the individual says, quite often persons speak of stress levels. Are there different levels of stress?
Yes. So you have the mild stress. That stress sometimes just you alone know about it. It don't stop you from function. And then you have the moderate one, which is it's not like the severe one. So it might cause you not to want to work, go to work or anything, but maybe you don't want to commit suicide, right?
Okay.
So you have the moderate stress and then you have the severe stress. That
Mm-hmm.
one can actually bring you into depression. So you have different
Right.
types of stress. So the psychologist would do assessment, would give you assessment, and then that could help to find out where you're at, how far is your stress level.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else wanted to add something on that? Doc, is there anything from the medical perspective, or is the same thing?
Um, Minister, before Doc speaks, if we have persons being faced with stressful situation one after the other, not getting any break, that can also affect how they respond to it, and the stress level is going to be so high that it might cause them to break. So I am in a
Okay.
total agreement with Minister Sinclair.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so
So
much.
you call that one the episodic. It's an episode. So every month end you realize that you're not meeting the deadline. So this is another stress come on you. So you call it the episodic stress. You know, like an
I thought,
episode,
I
right?
thought,
Until it
I,
goes.
I thought Mrs. Sinclair was going to say something else, Juanita. Like every month, and you realize they can't pay the bills.
I know exactly that is what
but
she wanted to say now. We don't see
but
that she wants
but
it.
she change it.
Yeah, man. So every month, all of us having an episodic stressful moment.
Dr. Brian, over to you.
Sorry, I just realized I was talking to myself. So yes, there are different. I mean, as was mentioned before, there are different levels of stress, and there are tools that can be used by psychologists or psychiatrists to assess your level of stress. So they actually have a stress tool that they can use to score you, basically asking you some questions, and then based on where you fall on that tool, then they can assess your level of stress, and then they can you know determine the type of intervention that will be needed for you based on that assessment.
Okay, thank you so much. Another question is, can stress cause impulsive behavior?
Yes.
Yes, it can.
Okay.
Somebody
Oh,
else was
yes,
answering.
indeed.
Let me get some.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I Monday during the Monday morning during the earthquake, some real important notice some of the children, the boys in grade two that I was with at the time, responding or reacting to the stressor of that earthquake in some ways. So there is one boy who he would normally be agile and stuff. He was frozen. Another who his response was joyfully excited and crying. Then there was another who was on the toughy side. Normally, he started crying along with a few others. So indeed, stress can cause you to react or to respond so pressured. Earlier on, someone mentioned that pressure bust pipe. They respond to you in a certain way. Just ask them a simple question.
Um,
They respond to you in a certain way. Just ask them a simple question. So harsh that you wonder why they respond that way. And so under stress, sometimes persons do, react, respond in an impulsive way. That when they are settled, after they have so to speak, conquer the stressor, sometimes some apologize to say, "Wow, that's not me." Nor was it
Right.
Jerry's
so,
nephew, but was a stressor.
Thank you.
so,
Go ahead, Dr. Camilo.
yes. So, as you did mention, yes, it can cause you to do impulsive things, things that you wouldn't do, or you just react without thinking, because what and that is why we're saying that chronic stress over time, what it does, it actually affects a part of your brain, which is your prefrontal cortex, which is at the front of the brain. And what that does is that impairs your functions, like your ability to concentrate, planning skills, decision making, and your judgment. And it impairs all of that. And then you find yourself doing things, or even, um, you know, acting irrationally, or just something that you wouldn't normally do, or you just do it without even thinking about it. So yes, stress can cause you to have impulsive behavior.
Okay. All right. Let me see if I'm missing any other question. I'm not seeing any other. So to those persons viewing, if you have any more question, you can drop them in the chat. Drop them in the chat right now so that our well experienced experts can respond to you. Right. While you're doing that, let me just remind you to feel free to go ahead and check out our website. Um, I'm dropping the link in the chat so you can just click on it and check it out when we're finished. Also, remember to follow us on social media for other information on how we can evolve and how we can maintain good mental health. All right, over to you, sister Mrs. Hunter. I'm seeing, before you go, I'm seeing a comment. It says, some persons engage in impulsive buying, eating, and behavior after they're triggered by their emotions. This is typical among adolescents and adults. Some of us can say yes, or Sheen cards. If they had a voice, they would be speaking tonight to call out our names. Because when we are stressed, we head on over to Sheen,
Yes.
and that's how we express it.
Mm-hmm. And it's a means of coping.
Mhm.
When it is on the extreme end, then you need to get some help where that is concerned, because that may not just be stress but something else. But yes, for those who go to Starbucks and all those places and buy cheesecake,
Mm,
if you have ever had a stressful day,
mhm.
boy, just give me a cold Pepsi. Just
Wait,
give me a cold Pepsi.
that's true
Um,
for you?
yes, it's true for me. If I've had a very long, rough day and I'm really stressed out about something, Doc, I know it probably isn't right. I confess to you right now. But yes, a
You do have
cold,
company. I know somebody.
yeah, yeah.
I know
So,
somebody like that.
yes, somebody's saying something in the chat, Sister
I
Sharika.
I have to cut back on some of my stress levels by convincing myself that stressing over some of the things, not solving them, so I am not just allowing them to destroy me anymore. And that's brilliant. We have to know
Absolutely.
what we can change and what we cannot change and adjust accordingly. All right?
Absolutely, Abigail, my girl. And I want to use that as my pickup line to kind of
Mhm.
go into the closing of our segment. Focus on the things that you can control and let go of the things that you cannot. Because most of the times, the things you cannot control are the things that give you a
Mhm.
lot of stress, right? So it is good that, we are talking about how we really manage this stressful life as the topic for tonight, stressful living. Our whole life, our whole livity, it's just stressful. So tonight I really hope that persons enjoy the conversation, but not just enjoy it. You got food for thought. I'm going to give the opportunity to our panelists to just wrap up, give your closing thoughts, your closing comment as we close out on our topic of stress. And I'm going to start with you, Minister Sinclair.
Okay, the first one, talk less. All right. So we yeah, so as we said earlier that we would not want to live in a world without stress because we it helps to motivate us. So when you're going through your stressful situation, smile. Do some self affirmation,
Mm,
knowing who you are. I am who God
Yeah.
says I am. I am what God says I am. I am all that. I am important. I am unique. And don't allow the stressors, because as we said earlier, we identify our stressors. And if we can identify, David said, I acknowledge my sins,
mm-hmm,
right? So David could able to confess his sin because he had identified them. He acknowledged them. So when you identify your stressors, then guess what? You act on that. Act on that. Smile a while. Give your face a rest. Talk good about yourself and live. Just live. Connect with someone and live. Those are my few
absolutely.
words in Jesus' name.
Amen. Thank you so much. I love those words. Really, really, really good affirmation and good information there. Sister Renee.
Well, I just want to say, I heard a quote recently. If you can't manage your stress, then you won't be able to manage success. So I want to leave with us that continue to do your physical activities, your
Mhm.
exercise and dancing, because physical activities play a key role in reducing your stress levels, in reducing stress, and it also plays a key, crucial role in us overcoming
Mm.
stressors. These are my few words in Jesus' name.
Thank you, my dear. I won't forget that one. If you can't manage the stress, you can't manage the success. What a nugget. Yes, Sir Atkinson.
Right. So have positive thoughts, think well of yourself, think well of the circumstances that you're in, that it's not the last of you. Use history to help you. Think of the days years ago happenings and use it to propel yourself to get through. Remember, it's not the end of life, it's not the end of the world, and there is a way out. And once you're well rested, step back from the stressor, whatever it is, and assess it well. And guess what? Positive thought, positive thinking, you will certainly get through it and get help. Link with the right person to or to handle the stressor, but get professional help.
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if he's finished. All right, maybe he is. So get help. Are you finished? I didn't catch the last part, sir. All right. See, we're having a little bit of a technical difficulty there, but I do get the essence of what you're saying. Get help. Make the link for the social services or the different individuals who can support you as you go through your time of stress or whatever the challenges you're facing. Thank you so much for that.
Yes.
Dr. Brian, with your beautiful smile.
Thank you. So, what I always say to my patients is that everyone's tolerance for everything is different. And it's the
Hmm.
same thing with stress. So, you can't look at persons and judge and know what they may be going through or what stress or situations they went through. Not because they may look wholesome on the outside, mean that they're okay, you know. And I always tell people it's not stress that ruin you or kill you, it's how you deal with it and how you come out of it. So I mean, all the things that we would have mentioned and all the things that we would have done, but also, you know, identify your stressor, whatever it may be, and find ways to try to cope with it. And if you cannot do it on your own, get help, because you may need assistance from someone, not just family, but maybe support from a physician to help you so that you can learn to find positive ways to deal with your stress so that you may grow from it and that you may overcome it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing, my panelists. You were loaded with information. The quality of sharing and engagement was really, really excellent. The information shared was just on point. And, as I throw over to my fabulous host, I'm seeing, well, we didn't really get to share some of us examples maybe of our stressful stories, but the fact that we are sitting in this space, not just as professional, but just simply being human, we would have endured different challenges
Mhm.
at different points in time. And we would have had to, use different techniques that were suggested here to overcome some of those challenges. I mean, the story, we probably wouldn't end tonight if we begin to talk about some of our very stressful moments. I can remember being a young wife, young mother. All of those things are stress. I can remember studying. All of those things, can come with their different stressful
Mhm.
situations and scenarios. But all the suggestions that we're giving here, they are really noteworthy suggestions that can help to persons to navigate a stressful life. So I throw over to Minister Anderson.
Wow. What more is there to say? What more is there to say? I think I will end with, if you need help,
Mhm.
get help. And I Evolve, we stand ready to help you. There are other organizations. There's child guidance for the children.
Yes.
So don't
Mhm.
suffer in silence. Don't suffer in silence. Get the help you need. And the presenters spoke about chronic stress. We don't want to be having stress for an extended period of time, because then that will definitely be more harmful in the long run. So I just want to use this opportunity to say thank all of Uno for coming and being with us tonight. I want to say a very big thank you to my co-host, Mrs. Unter, to the panelists, the experienced experts
Yes,
that
yes.
shared with us tonight and empowered us, Dr. Brian, Mr. Conrad, Bishop Conrad Atkinson, Miss Renee Mayer, and Mrs. or Minister Marlene Brooks Sinclair. Listen, you guys have really empowered us. You have kept us engaged. And I think I speak for all of us when we say we will do better at managing our stress level. I also want to thank the individuals who are working behind the scene to collect your questions and to post them to us. Shout out to the marketing manager himself. Shout out to the website designer, Strictly Monkey Business. Feel free to contact them, and J Graphics Design, who did all our graphics work. To all our friends and families and well wishers, thank you, thank you, thank you. If you enjoyed and you want it again, just encourage us in the chat, because we are willing to have mindful conversations if you are willing to listen. So let us know. Just go ahead and post it in the chat. In fact, you can even share topics that you are interested in, and we will try our very best to put together programs that can meet the needs that are there. So even as we are closing out, go ahead, use up the chat and let us know what you want so we can please you. Thanks again, everyone. God bless you. God bless you.
Welcome to
Absolutely.
iEvolve Global's official website, your online portal for initiating becoming a better you. Our website features several services geared towards evolving into that person you dream of through coaching, mentorship, counseling, speaking engagements, and much more. Our website boasts a change corner with quotes, verses, tips, and tricks to get you through that rough patch, in addition to our self-help corner, which gives you all the tools, resources, and statistics about mental health and the process of change. Our website aims to get you engaged. It's filled with the resources you need to become a better you. And if ever you need to talk, contact us. Our team of experts are waiting to assist you. Welcome to iEvolve, the roadmap to a better me.
Thank you for tuning in to Mindful Conversations. See you soon as our series continues. Remember to like, share, follow, comment, and subscribe to our social media pages. It's time to evolve for a better me.